So one thing with Hub Console, we talked about a little bit about processes, that all these things, like any process if you select or any configuration you select, all the behind the processes, those processes are listed down over here. We can directly go over here and start the process over here as well. So it will utilize these processes, batch jobs and all those things to run those things as well.
Okay.
But normally we don't use processes. We use scheduling with CLI commands and the other related fields according to our API calls or manually. So first thing is database. So yesterday I was stating that in these 5 main big topics, right? If I would say the configuration section is for master database. If I'll go ahead and click on any other thing, it will state that this tool cannot be used with master database. Anything. If I'll select any database, let's say, if I'll go ahead, select the database, which is an ORS database, and if I go into configuration now, it will state that this tool can be only utilized with master database, right? So basically only that configuration. So configuration is somewhat, you can say, a little bit, you can go ahead and do configuration on this. Rest things are mostly for viewing the configuration which is set in the configuration XML file, which is configuration properties for CMS. Okay. So databases, this will show us how many databases or ORS databases we'll say are there for one particular architecture. We can have multiple ORS database in one single application. So let's say we have 2 different domains and the customer or the management does not want the product and the customer side to be merging or to be having a connection anyhow. They want the data to be exclusively differentiated. Then we'll go ahead and create 2 different ORS. One would be there for customer and the other would be for product. So accordingly, over here we have 2 different ORS. One is I'm using, and the second one is something which candidates are using for creating the stuff. Okay, whatever we'll be going ahead. The downwards properties are the properties like the connection string, how many rows in a API when the API get call is done, how many rows they will get from that API, that is being listed over here. So if we increase it, it will go ahead and impact our system adversely. Or we can say it's a direct proportionate or indirect proportionate to performance. That if you'll increase this, your performance will get decreased. Okay. So mostly we don't go beyond 3000 rows and 200 is by default. So over here we'll get all these information. Second part is users. All the users which are created in master database. Users are never created in your ORS database. In ORS database, we'll be assigning these users to a specific role. Okay.
Yeah.
So over here there are target database. So right now we are seeing all the users and their default databases, what databases they are assigned to. And in target database, we can see according to the database, how many users are being assigned. Okay. And the global password policy is there so that if there is a need that the password needs to be in some kind of pattern, there should be certain number of global limitations that okay, that your password would be expired in this many days. If you have to provide a pattern, if you have to restrict the utilization, so all those kind of policies are set in the global password policy. And if any user, you have to go ahead and fulfill that. Okay, now this particular policy does not need to be enabled on any user, then this particular, let's say this particular user. So for doing any kind of configuration, we have to take the write logs. So there are two types of write logs, acquire log and acquire exclusive log. So whenever we go ahead and work on users or database side, we always select acquire exclusive log, which means no other user will be able to do any kind of updates on that particular configuration. Okay, normal. Otherwise, we always acquire logs. So right now you can see there is no buttons. I cannot go ahead, right click and can't do much things. If I will go ahead, manage password policies, these are coming up, right? But I cannot go ahead and add a user or do any other task for this one, right? So if I'll go ahead, acquire the log, you can see I can go ahead, create the users from over here. So all these bold are the required fields which are required over here, and you can utilize it. And this is how we can assign a default database. Okay. And the password policy, if global policy is being enabled and we want to go ahead and enable a private policy, then we'll just go over here and we'll click on this and we'll update accordingly for system users. Okay. So that is need for users. You can see right now this person, he was an administrator earlier, so he does not have a CMX ORS to be seen, right? Whereas if I go to team 2, which I have gone ahead and given the access for that one, still that is not coming up. If I go ahead and give the master database, then all the other database will be showcased. So that is how it is to be given. Now, if I say if that was not been given, so you have seen that workbench and this one was being just there. There was nothing which was coming in for team 1, right? So how to give the access for the tool level? So first thing is security providers. So this is just for information that what all security providers are there for authentication, authorization, and user profile providers. So what are the things which are enabled? So these are the three and so on. Facilities or functionalities given by MDM. Then what is enabled, we can go ahead and see those. So you can see this one is enabled. Super login is disabled. then certificate provider is enabled. Okay, the same with over here as well. So this is more majorly over plugins configuration, what kind of plugin is being involved, and accordingly those are enabled. If we enable anything without having that particular file or without that particular configuration being enabled from the backend, it won't be enabled for us. Okay. The tool access is the place where we'll go ahead and give the access to non-administrator accounts. Okay, non-administrator account. So right now we just went ahead and removed the team one as admin, right? From over here, we just remove the administrator, correct? So how we can go ahead and give, these are all 5 different topics or bold configuration sections. So if I want configurations to be given to this person, I'll just go ahead and shift this one. So you'll see all the process for this one has been moved automatic, right? And in this one, if I don't want, let's say, users to be over here, I'll just remove this. I don't want enterprise manager to be over there. I'll just remove that one. Tool access. Okay. In the model section, we want them to have all the access to be given. Data steward, let's say, utilities. So all these are the parts which we have given. So now if I'll go ahead and log in, I'll see only these sections to be given for that particular user. So this is how we give tool access. Tool access means MDM access, MDM Hub Console access. Okay. Moving on. Message. So message queues are utilized by the APIs to get the data which are updated or which are modified or created. Okay. Using message triggers. So message queues, we can utilize JMS queues or Kafka queues. For Kafka queues, we need a plugin which is being given by Informatica. Once that plugin is being installed, then right now we are just seeing the JMS. We'll see JMS as Kafka queue as well over here. Okay, and these queues are basically given to the end users who will be utilizing these queues to get the data, which are being manipulated or created in MDM itself. Okay, so how to create it? We'll just go ahead, add the message queue. We'll just give the name and that's it. So if you want, you can say Q2. This is being. Now either this queue can be unassigned, used by message triggers. Legacy event XML is a different thing, which normally in 10.4 is not useful enough. So we'll just go ahead with message triggers and we'll go ahead and save. So this particular queue will be utilized, and the data, whatever data we'll be going ahead and putting, that will be going ahead into a repository table for data changes, which is C repos data MQ data change. Those connection settings are being given by the admin team itself, because they are the ones who set this, the application layer and everything, right? They install it and all those things. We just go ahead and create the queue. They'll utilize the name of the queue, but at the end of the day, it is the connections, the ports that will be opened by admin, and they will be giving the connection string for them. And in that, they will see both these queues and they'll select which queue they want to go ahead according to our information, that okay, this Q2 will be utilized for this particular reason, Q1 will be utilized for this particular reason. We can go ahead and name them accordingly. So we will be utilizing this JMS queues for our schema. So let's say you have got a record. So your requirement was basically any record which is created inside MDM or it is being updated in MDM. All those things needs to be sent. Okay, via queue, message queues. So we will utilize message triggers, like we have SQL triggers, right? Attribute, we just go ahead and put the triggers on which event the trigger should happen, right? The same thing happens over here as well. So we have two different ways to send the data. One is we'll just go ahead and utilize the default format in which it will be given the IDs of the record so that it will be faster, and they'll just get the ID, and with that particular ID they'll go ahead and do a get call in the MDM and they'll receive that particular data, and that get call can be done via a SOAP or a REST. Okay. So message triggers, how that will be done, how this queue will be utilized, we'll be seeing forward. No issues in that, because we have
Okay.
not gone ahead and we are not creating any schema right now. We are just going through all the properties over here. So all these properties we'll be going ahead. But first, I just wanted to go through each and every settings and what will be done in later on. I'll just tell you accordingly. Okay. So message queues are created only once. Let's say you won't be creating message queues multiple times. You'll just create the queues according to your requirement once, and that will be utilized by all your ORS, all your message triggers in the same section. So queues are created in master database. That is why, because a single queue can be utilized by multiple ORS data. Then there is repository manager. This is something which is majorly important and is utilized by developers in very frequent way. First is to validate the ORS. The validate of ORS means any issues which is there, any errors, any warnings on towards the database itself will be showcased over here for our ORS databases. So if there is any issues, then you cannot go ahead and export your configuration, you cannot import your configuration, you cannot promote your configuration. Okay. So over here, that is for validate. Validate is something which will be utilized multiple times. Okay. Then is your promote. Promote is utilized for doing multiple promotions or multiple migrations according to our sprint level and what we need to go ahead and do a promote for. It's a pick and choose kind of a thing. Module level promotes. It is utilized to send the configuration from one environment. We go ahead, export it, and we import those configuration according to what is needed to be promoted. Okay. Second thing is import. Import can only be done once in MDM lifetime because import needs the empty ORS. Import you cannot go ahead and do even if you have created a single thing in the ORS. If you have created a single configuration, you cannot import it. What you have to do? You have to go ahead and promote always because import doesn't take chunks. It takes the entire configuration and it creates everything. It does not recreate, it does not replace, it just creates. So if you have anything which is being done, if you will try to import, you will not get that. I have an export, I can showcase you that. So let's say this one is the source. Which one is my target? Let's say CMS source. Right? So unless and until it's a empty ORS, you cannot go ahead and import it. Okay. What does export means? Export is to save a particular entire configuration from a single ORS. So when we export, it also exports the entire provisioning tool as well as your hub console configuration. Okay. We'll go ahead and do exports and promote at the end of the session. Like at the very last session would be for imports and promotes. Sorry, for exports and promotes. Okay. So this is utilized for all those purposes. Import CWM file and export CWM file. It's another file extension which was utilized, but it's a bulkier and more time taking. So nowadays from I think 9.8 version or 10 version, we have stopped utilizing importing the CWM and exporting of CWM files. Because over here we cannot go ahead and do a promote which is section promote or in a piece or component which is being upgraded or which has been enhanced or which is newly created. We cannot just import that chunk of code or that chunk of configuration. We cannot do that kind of thing. So that's why we have started using these because this actually utilizes an XML format. The export will be in XML, so it gets read very quickly and we can go ahead and do promotes very easily. Okay. Enterprise manager and workflow manager, these are information regarding your application layer, that which version, where it is being installed, and on process server, which are the process servers, where is the hub, ORS database and everything. Master database, which particular version we are using, what is the product, ORS database configurations, version history, that means any patches are being installed or not, right? Environment report will give you the entire server list, at which particular application server we are using, what is the database which we are using, and so on and so on. So it's just an information kind of thing. And this is useful when we go ahead and create a Informatica ticket for any kind of help we need from Informatica, or if there is any bug which is there. Then there is in 10.4, they have merged two different workflow adapters. One is business entity ActiveOS workflows, and the other one is a regular one which is already been utilized. So this is where we can see what all adapters we have and what are the workflow engines which we are using. And in the ORS, what is the workflows which we are utilizing in them. So if you want to go ahead, add another one adapter, you can go ahead and add. But that would be which one we want to use. Let's say BE want to use. Over here we are utilizing localhost, so we'll utilize that one. So this is one-time configuration. Once that has been done, it's been done. We never see these things again and again, or we won't go ahead and create it multiple times. Okay. So that is all we do in configuration and workbench. So what are the major areas where we work? First is repository manager. Second one is users, because sometimes what happens is people go ahead and put multiple times the credentials wrong, and they try to lock that particular account at the end of the day. So we have to go ahead. Right now, if I go into users, I will not see any unlock of user, right? Because the user is already unlocked. But if a user is locked, then one more additional configuration or one more additional option we'll get over here as unlock. We just have to click that and the user will be unlocked. So that is a simple task. Because of that, users becomes a frequent visit in production environment. Other than that, we only use dev, test, or stage, whatever environments are there. We'll use a repository manager multiple times just to validate the ORS, find out if there are any errors are there or not. And being a developer, being into development side, we don't care about warnings. We only care about errors. That is something which we need to rectify before we do any other thing. Okay. Once you are done with your work, whatever work you are doing, so you always go ahead and release your log. What that will do is it will give others a chance to go ahead and work on the same configuration if you have acquired the exclusive lock. Second thing is sometimes if you have acquired the lock, it's Informatica, so it might act up in any other way as well. Okay.